Struggling to connect with my 17-year-old sister, I feared she's being manipulated by our mom. You're just like a servant was my reality, and now I see my sister being treated as an accessory. After years apart, can I break through her walls before it's too late? Warning, I have shared examples of extreme emotional manipulation and abuse here, so please do not read this if those topics are triggering in any way. Please prioritize your safety. Hello, everyone's. I truly need advice on how to connect with my sister, who is under the full custody of our mother. Technically, I am allowed to see her, but the restrictions are significant and I suspect she is being manipulated into avoiding me. I will not disclose everything here, as it is an incredibly lengthy story, but the essence is that my biological mother is remarkably immature and emotionally stunted due to having me at a young age. My grandmother, who is 60 years old, believes that it was abuse from a much older man, yet still compelled my mother to carry me to term. The pregnancy traumatized her, and I effectively grew up in a neglectful and unsuitable environment. The best way I can express our relationship is that she viewed me as a servant rather than a daughter. I was bullied, ignored, beaten, and ostracized by her until I left home at the age of 18. My sister, in contrast, was a planned pregnancy with our mother's then serious boyfriend. In summary, she is considered the golden child. However, even though she did not grow up with the same mother that I did, she is treated more like an accessory. I believe she never fully developed her sense of self as a result, and now she struggles with avoidant behavior along with a lack of empathy. I am not being sarcastic when I say this. She has essentially been raised to align completely with my mother and has endured harmful rhetoric since she was a small child. She is not unkind by any means, but I must actively address behaviors or beliefs of hers that resemble narcissistic traits, delusions of grandeur, lack of empathy, and issues with destructive behavior and emotional regulation are the primary concerns. Currently, I am unable to take her to a therapist. Legal proceedings would also not assist me, as I require at least 2 more years of work before I can provide her with housing, cover her treatment costs if she decides to pursue them, and ensure she has consistent financial support. My mother has been taken to court multiple times and has successfully demonstrated adequate care despite active neglect. I also want to highlight that it took me several years of intensive therapy to unlearn my own patterns of abuse and people-pleasing tendencies. My own abuse resulted in several trauma-based social disorders and health issues. Because of this, I refuse to take my little sister in until I am entirely sure that I will not perpetuate an unhealthy environment for her. I will not debate this particular matter, and will only consider my therapist's and doctor's suggestions regarding what is or is not feasible for housing a child in my current situation. With all this in mind, if any of you have had similar experiences, please share how I can connect with my little sister while I suspect she is being actively monitored and encouraged to ignore me. Some notes to consider. 1. She will turn 18 this year, and I have attempted to initiate regular meetings or check-ins with her. She agrees to the plans, but then cancels later. 2. If I inquire about visiting my mother's house to see her, she panics and expresses nervousness about us interacting. A few months prior, she was fine with me coming over and even told me not to worry about our mother, only to later exhibit this reaction. 3. Some of you may have realized this, but my grandmother is also abusive, which contributes to my mother's behavior. I have severed ties with my entire immediate family due to their extremely concerning actions, so my sister has not only my mother in her ear, but likely my grandmother voicing lies about me as well. 4. Both my grandmother and mother display extreme narcissism, but I would speculate that my mother exhibits more signs of possibly having borderline personality disorder than narcissistic personality disorder. I am uncertain whether my grandmother has narcissistic personality disorder, as she and my mother refuse to seek therapy or obtain a diagnosis. They also declined to seek help for me as a child despite suggestions from my guidance counselors and teachers. 5. Most of the abuse I can describe is primarily emotional or psychological, including isolation, enforcing opinions, emotional dysregulation, lying about events, mood swings, and more. I am the only one who experienced documented physical abuse, which is why I find it incredibly challenging to take this case to court. 6. She is often left alone at home now that she is older, to the extent that she has started engaging in destructive behaviors such as sneaking out, interacting with unsafe older individuals, and succumbing to peer pressure. I would like to chalk this up to typical teenage issues, but it is really a matter of my mother failing to parent properly and instead treating my sister like an extension of herself. 7. I am the black sheep of the family solely because I consistently sought therapy despite it being frowned upon, and I called out this behavior repeatedly until I completely cut them off. I have not spoken to my immediate family in about 2 years, nor my mother in around 4 years. They all know why I left, but they deny that any abuse or neglect ever occurred, even in the face of documented evidence over the years and the cases against my mother. 8. My mother imposes religious beliefs on my sister, and prior to her behaving strangely, I checked her TikTok, which shifted from silly posts and typical teenage content to outright religious propaganda. I think that, if you are religious, some Christian content may be acceptable, but my sister underwent a complete transformation before she stopped posting entirely. 9. I have maintained brief communication with her since then, but when I attempt to suggest going out to eat or taking a walk as I typically would, she entirely shuts down. I want my sister to understand that I am a true safe space, and while it may simply require patience, I genuinely believe that every significant adult in her life has essentially used or abandoned her due to my mother's irrational relationships and behaviors. I cannot recall a single person who was allowed to remain close to us who was good, as our mother quickly severed ties with anyone who mentioned how she treated us. If you have any recommendations for books I can read, any resources at all, any personal experiences, or simply knowledge about assisting troubled teenagers or establishing a healthy relationship after abuse, anything would be immensely helpful. I am at a loss, and I am uncertain whether I should push harder and risk alienating her, as she has already indicated anxiety about continuing our relationship if it disturbs our mother, or whether I should be patient and remain prepared to be an option for her. I understand that many of you may suggest immediate intervention, even if it necessitates taking physical action, but I am dealing with emotional abusers who do not hesitate to take drastic measures to ensure I will never see my sister again. I have attempted to insert myself into the situation, and as a consequence, I was almost forcibly committed to an institution. My mother has successfully pushed others out, including my sister's own father, so I am no different, and she has made it clear what she intends to do if I continue trying to engage with my sister through healthy communication and boundaries. My goal is to plan ahead, prepare myself now, and determine what actions I can take to ensure I am available and ready for my sister and any issues she may be facing when she is no longer legally bound to my mother. This is quite lengthy, and I may have made some mistakes or errors, but I appreciate anyone who reads this, even if you cannot provide any solutions. In summary, my sister, 17 years old, has become estranged from me, 25 years old, after I severed ties with our abusive family. Story 2. Caught in a secret love at 17, my boyfriend admitted, "I can't fix this," as we hid our relationship from the world. Friends say, "Just leave him." But how do I let go of the magic we created? It hurts too much to even hold hands in public. Is it really doomed? I do not even know where to begin. There is no way I can describe the situation without making one or more parties appear extremely toxic and/or immature, and that is a disturbing issue in itself, but I digress. Essentially, during my freshman year of high school, I met a boy at my school while participating in the math team. We became acquaintances, and little did I know that he developed an attraction to me. Later, he asked me to a school dance, and I consulted a mutual friend who confirmed that he liked me. I took the initiative, and we began meeting outside of school at bookstores and similar venues to talk and hang out. At this point, he did not know I was aware of his feelings. Eventually, he confessed, and we entered into a relationship. It was wonderful. Our intellectual and emotional compatibility made it easy to sustain interactions effortlessly for many hours. I cherished every moment spent with him. At first, we began to spend time together more frequently during our relationship, and finally found the courage to hug and kiss, which I greatly appreciated, along with the emotional depth of our weekly interactions. We conversed for countless hours, and he declared his love for me, insisting that I was the most important person in his life. Then our meetings began to diminish. He became very reserved at school, and our interactions in public became brief and strained. He was never comfortable with public displays of affection, but it completely stopped. He used to find me in the hallways between classes, but that ceased without explanation. I was left confused. I assumed he simply disliked me, and in an immature attempt to improve the situation, I asked indirect, passive-aggressive questions like, "Am I as important to you as hobby X? Or do you still like me?" which did not yield positive results and only led to heated arguments and extreme defensiveness. Ultimately, this resulted in a painful breakup, my first, so I do not have a standard of comparison. For a few months after that, I could not speak with him, despite our mutual agreement to remain friends, and I explained that I was in too much pain for contact, which he respected. We resumed talking when we both attended the same summer program, and within days of rekindling the friendship, we began to discuss the possibility of resuming our romantic relationship. A number of complicating factors were at play during this period, such as another boy at the same program attempting to start a relationship with me, which created jealousy in my then ex-boyfriend and prompted him to actively seek me out again. I am not entirely sure what I was thinking, but I somewhat followed my instincts, and we got back together. Initially, things were great again, But then he opened up to me about what truly happened during our first relationship. He has been taught since childhood that dating in high school is immoral, and he experiences severe anxiety when others perceive him to be in a romantic relationship. It is worth noting that his parents consciously allowed us to date the first time, contrary to what one might expect. Additionally, we are Indian Americans, and he resides in a predominantly Indian American community. So I strongly suspect that this has some influence on this antiquated view of relationships. In short, we decided to keep our relationship completely secret. He wants others at school to view us as friends. We avoid meeting outside of school since it is hidden from his parents. We do communicate extensively through calls and texts every day, but we do not engage in any physical interaction. This situation is draining me. I committed to this relationship with the implicit assumption that it would eventually lead to marriage, no matter how foolish that may sound. We have invested 2 years building this together, and at present, no one who cares about me believes that we share something special and meaningful. Everyone I talk to advises me to leave, which is painful. He still behaves standoffishly at school at times, and I once yelled at him in front of a large group of people, resulting in rumors about unresolved tension between us. That is not who we are. I write him love letters and poems, and I inquire about his well-being whenever I can. His happiness is more important to me than anything, yet I cannot even express my physical desire for him or acknowledge how I feel to anyone. Waiting a year until college, which he claims is the appropriate time to date publicly, feels torturous, but leaving seems even worse. I am at a loss regarding what to do. I likely sound ungrateful and naive, and I am aware that I am influenced by a great deal of hormones that are clouding my judgment, but I am genuinely in love and I feel as though I am walking through a minefield right now. I sincerely want to make this work, but everyone around me insists that our relationship is doomed, he does not love you, and so on. They claim he is toxic. What keeps me attached to him? He is not particularly funny, intelligent, or attractive, but I trust him and love him, and I enjoy spending time with him. I know there are other individuals who would be compatible with me, yet I cannot bear the thought of throwing this all away. This was our breathtaking masterpiece, and now forces beyond my control are splattering paint all over my creation and distorting it. I am heartbroken that he struggles with anxiety and I feel powerless to help him. He has told me many times that I cannot fix him and that this is non-negotiable, but it hurts. Recently, I have resorted to unhealthy habits to cope with the pain of being in a long-distance relationship with someone just an hour's walk away. I am developing significant resentment towards couples I see in public and against my entire community because, even if I know deep down that this is solely an us problem, it feels as though the world has conspired against him and me. It has reached the point where I cannot even be in the same room as a couple holding hands without crying. Yes, I am a terrible, ungrateful person, and I should feel fortunate to be in such an amazing relationship even if it is private, but sometimes it truly bothers me. Please help. He is so kind to me in private, yet everyone assumes he is toxic when I share our situation, which is incredibly hurtful because I care about how others perceive my partner. Do we have hope? Is it truly as terrible as everyone claims? Or do we simply exist in an excessively materialistic culture that elevates the importance of superficial aspects such as public displays of affection? Are teenagers more materialistic, distorting their understanding of what constitutes a meaningful relationship, thereby offering me some hope that our relationship is not inherently toxic and flawed, despite the unconventional lack of physical interaction? I understand there is no clear right or wrong, but am I justified in believing in our aspirations for this relationship? For the record, I do not subscribe to the idea of the one, but I do believe that every person has numerous soulmates with whom they could potentially find happiness, and he is one of them. We have already constructed this relationship from the ground up, and I do not wish to let go of it. In summary, I fell in love with a boy in high school with whom I had a deep emotional and intellectual connection. After a magical beginning, things disintegrated when he became distant, leading to our breakup. Months later, we reconnected, and he confessed his intense anxiety about being perceived as dating, influenced by cultural and personal beliefs, despite his parents' acceptance of our relationship. Now we are dating in secret, no public displays of affection, no meetings outside of school, just daily calls and texts, and it is emotionally taxing. I feel trapped between love and pain, mourning the open, beautiful relationship we once shared while hiding who we are. Everyone advises me to leave, but I still love him deeply and cannot bring myself to let go, even as it is tearing me apart. Story 3. I thought I finally found the love I dreamed of for 30 years, but she got scared after our late-night talks. I need to focus on my kids, she said before blocking me. Now she's back with her abusive ex, leaving me wondering if I should let go or keep holding on. A little backstory, I had known and had a crush on her since grade school, so 30 years, but we were never really friends in school. We were Facebook friends for years but never really chatted. I was out one night about 5 to 6 years ago with a friend with benefits, and when I saw her, she ran over to me and gave me a huge hug. I have not been able to get her off my mind since. Fast forward a few years last year, and she posted about how she left her ex, the father of her 2-year-old son. I waited a few months and finally gathered the courage to ask her out on a date and told her about my long-standing crush. She acknowledged how difficult that was to do and was flattered but was not sure about going on a date yet, so we just chatted for a few months. She ultimately went back to him, so I thought nothing of it and distanced myself to avoid interfering in their relationship. A few months later, she posted again about leaving him because he was drinking while she was taking a nap and stole her car, totaling it. I continued to keep to myself, but after a few weeks, she reached out to me. We talked and flirted heavily for a couple of months, and then we finally went on the date I had asked her about. We played mini golf and had dinner at a nice restaurant. Both of us had an amazing time. During all the talking and reminiscing about times and people we both remembered, including friends who had passed since school and the date itself, I felt an indescribable connection to her and fell in love with her. At that time, we had only been on one date, but we talked for hours every day, all day, sometimes until 3 or 4 in the morning on weekends. Everything seemed incredible. We even discussed how much we missed each other and could not wait to see each other again. It was challenging to plan times with her 2-year-old son, whose father hardly ever took him. We continued flirting and talking for hours each day for another few weeks until we found a time to meet up again, this time at her house. It was originally planned for the daytime while her son was with his dad, but she had not gotten much sleep the night before, so we changed it to the night after he got home and was in bed, allowing her to nap during the day. In her words, this meant we would not have to rush spending time together. I drove out there for an hour, a normally 40-minute drive through a whiteout, arriving around 10 p.m., and we had a great time just watching some television, playing Uno, and listening to some old 1990s and 2000s music from our school days. Her son woke up and she checked on him. Everything seemed fine. We returned to what we were doing, and then he woke up again around 3 a.m. She checked on him again, but this time she texted me from upstairs saying he was clinging to her and we would have to call it a night, which I fully understood. While driving home, she texted me to please drive safely, and I did not respond because I was driving. Things felt a little off for the next day or so, and then another day passed. On February 11th, I mentioned that I was going to ask if she would like to hang out for Valentine's Day, but it seemed like she had not wanted to talk to me lately after I ordered flowers to be delivered on Valentine's Day. She then proceeded to say she was going back to school, which I already knew about, and needed to focus on that and give her children. She also has a 16-year-old daughter who lives with her dad, 100% of her attention. I felt a little upset and tried to talk to her about it, pleading my case. It was nothing mean or anything, but she blocked me. A week went by and I wrote her a letter and sent it the old-fashioned way in the mail, essentially saying I knew we could make things work and that I would be there to help her with anything and be her support. I just wanted to treat her like the queen I believe she is. She texted me in a distressed tone, stating she had already explained herself and added that she felt creeped out by my not leaving early the night at her house, even though she made it seem like she wanted me to stay and never said anything to me until her son woke up at 3 a.m. She also mentioned she was back with her ex, the one who crashed her car, and who had previously called her all sorts of names while we were talking and wished she would end up in a ditch unalive, showing me the messages. So I am left wondering if there is any hope here to rekindle what we had for those short few months, or should I just try to move on? Even though I am unsure if I can, she was everything I was seeking and perfect for me. She possessed all the characteristics I wanted, including shared experiences, and I do not think I will ever find that connection again. It has been about 2 months, and not an hour goes by that I do not think about her and our amazing times together and our flirting, yet she seems pretty adamant about not wanting to speak to me. Did I do something that egregious, or is there hope to regain what we once had? I do not believe their relationship will endure based on their past attempts, but I also do not want to disrupt them being reunited as a family. I just do not see it lasting, given how he treated her previously. I would do anything to get her back, but I do not want to push and have her resent me. Is there still a chance, and if so, how should I approach it? To summarize, I am madly in love, but should I wait around or just try to move on?